Hey, it's the Chief Bonding with board games and RPGs, and yes, we're talking about brand new 60 plus. You could be 70, 80, hopefully 90. I'll still be playing RPGs, but you're brand new and you're going to be playing an RPG. Why? Why in the world would an old dog take a chance with a new trick? Well, there's kind of the whole lesson right there. So one thing I like to say, we'll get into this first. I like to coin it as the 4 E's and an I. The 4 E's and an I. I prefer that story type RPG, but when they sit down and they join in this cooperative game, what they're bringing first and foremost is their expertise. They've got a 60 plus life of expertise going on. And when that gets drawn upon for the story, you would be surprised what they can throw in there from firsthand knowledge. And it's not only good for the group, it's good for them. That expertise that they've built up over 60 plus years. Unbelievable expertise. I've got a player who's a little bit older, not into the 60 plus, but 50s, who's a lifetime long hunter. And when he goes in and is doing a hunting thing, he's throwing in these details that are just, I'm like, wow. Or I'll even point and say, okay, you're setting a trap for game. Tell me the kind of trap. And what he lays out is just amazing expertise in this game. So that is just a joy to the table. Not that a 16-year-old might not know, but the expertise coming in from that older player is just awesome. And it's good for them. They're getting to bring their expertise in. Now in that, kind of the other side of the coin is the second E, their experience. So I played when I was a young teen in the 80s. And, I had an idea of what that hero archetype was. We were at one point fighting this dragon, of course, and this flame comes out and hits the shield, and I'm thinking, well, in real life that I would be toast. But instead the GM had this shield melting to my arm and me taking damage, and it was just so cool. But I think if I was playing that now with my experience, not saying that that couldn't still happen, but maybe I wouldn't have stepped out and done something like, or if I did it, it would have been this, I'm probably going to die here, and I would go forth. Or my experience might allow me to think of an alternate way to explain to the DMGM of how we're going to approach this, because I'm sitting here tapping into, something from me personally when I was in the Army when I was 22. Or I was a medic in the Army, so when I'm talking about treating a patient, maybe some of that past experience, I'm using a potion, but I'm also elevating the legs. I don't know, I've seen this happen in games when I'll have an older set of role players around. And you'll get these little tips of experience that come in, or the loss of a loved one or a dear friend. And you'll see that tapping in emotionally. They're not making this up, it's hearkening back towards something. Boom, that experience on top of that expertise, the first 2 E's, and I think you're starting to see already not only what that 60 plus player can bring to the game, but what that they're also able to feel like they're a key integral part. How old was Gandalf anyway? So now stepping away kind of from that level of what they're bringing and more into maybe what they're needing. Entertainment. As folks age and retire, I think the spirit of play, first of all, is crucial. I was doing interviews of people from Avalon Hill, and I had some folks that are retired talking about even living in the villages down in Florida. It brought back that spirit of play that was almost from high school and college age years. And I thought, that's interesting. I never thought about living in the villages, a planned elderly community, actually being reminiscent of high school and college. But now it was just time to play and to reconnect with that spirit of play. So entertainment. As you get older, I think that engagement of role-playing entertainment is just so much a mental spark that it's good. It's good for everybody at the table, young and old. But the idea that somehow you're too old to role play or too old to start, contraire, mon frère. Contraire. It's the extent of my French almost. And And within that is the exercise. So that spark that's kicking around, that little spark that's flying around in there. But the same thing goes with that extra little kick when you're sitting in front of people. It's also very socializing. Now, it can be challenging. My 16-year-old was talking about he volunteered to do some summer school so that in his senior year, he wanted to get ahead. In his senior year, he can be taking some college courses. Well, hello, son. Way to think. Digging it. But while he's been going, he's talking about how it's literally hell, Dad. It's hell. I said, hell? It's hell. You're describing this as hell? And I had to back off and let him just experience his hell. I started to explain to him some situations that are actually hell. And I'm thinking, that's me being old, baby. That's me being old. That's that experience coming in, challenging that youth. It's so good to have your entertainment and your mental exercise engaged with younger folks. It is huge. It's the importance of that family, that knitted family, that extended family. It's why grandparents are so much nicer than you remember them when they were your parents, when they are around their grandkids. I'm like, he was never that nice to me. And now look how great he is with this little kid. It's because he doesn't have the responsibility, and they're able to connect at a whole different level. Much like a 60-plus-year-old jumping into an RPG. So, part of why I bring this whole idea up, and there's some other little things I could talk about, but I won't go in too far, is that with my wargaming beginning I did role-playing, but then I got deep into wargaming at age 13. And as I moved in, and I even did the channel, and I was on the Dice Towers, really me looking at role-playing. Now I do Euro games, and I love all kinds of games. Party games, I like it all. But what's been very interesting is I'm running a live Maze Rats role-playing adventure where I go live, and Maze Rats, I don't have my pamphlet here, but Maze Rats lets you kind of play on the fly. I love it. And I'm live. There's no net. And I take viewer participation, and some of the folks there have even made characters and come on into the game. Now, some of them, I don't know how old they are, but I've had two of them give me their age. One of them was 61, and one of them, I guess he didn't give me his age, but he said he was in the Navy during Vietnam and served over in the Vietnam waters area. So I'm like, wow, I think we're talking 70s, if my math is right. So, and both engaged to some different success, but the idea of just engaging is the win. Now, you may get in and go, I don't like this, but I would ask as you play, check yourself. What is it you don't like? Part of what I don't sometimes like with my son is that he's saying going to school is hell. It's literal hell. And I'm like, no. And I got to check myself because he's still got to experience multiple things down his life that get closer to hell. For now, it's hell. Okay, got it. But coming in, I saw that I was attracting some of these folks in. The one guy that had been in Vietnam in the Navy said he'd never played a role-playing game, yet he was engaging and sending me comments on how he thought maybe that Mythic Emulator, which is a way you could solo role-play, and we'll talk just a bit and we'll get done, how he thought it could be used. And I said, I love the way you did that. We're going to incorporate that into the very next episode as a thread. And you could just see that mind is, that imagination is working. And I thought, oh boy, I need to talk more about this. I need to talk more about this. So to end off, if you wanted to try this before you jump into a crowd, which can be stressful, even for a 60 plus, 70, 80, 90-year-old, but that's a good sign. Remember that first time you started that new job or new career? Stressful. It starts firing off neurons. But if you want to work on your personal expertise or lack thereof, you can grab the Mythic Emulator. All right, look down in the description below. It is a link and everything. It's an affiliate, but it doesn't cost you any more. But you can use, and I've been using it a ton, that Mythic Emulator to play solo and get a feel for a rule set, and have an oracle or an emulator answer yes/no questions and give you logical extensions. And then you might feel, I'm ready to sit down with a group. And then remember, you got to be open. The I is the isolation. So you want to counter that isolation. Counter it. Get out there and spend some time with some folks and enjoy both what you can bring and what they can show you, and counter that isolation. RPGing 60 plus, 70, 80, 90, baby. Come on. It is the 4 E's and the I.